Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Underwater Photography Show. As always, I am Matthew Sullivan.
And I'm Alex Mustard. And today, I actually want to talk about something that dropped through my letterbox with rather a large clump yesterday. And that's this monster book here, which is you can see this, I'll hold it in further forward so you don't have to look at me, which is the 60 Years of the Wildlife Photographer of the Year book. How wildlife photography became art. And what this book is it is about 200, I think it's a bit over 200 photos of the very best of the wildlife photographer of the year competition. And it's not every single page of this book is packed with iconic images. I remember there was an old thread on Wet Pixel years ago about, what are the kind of the different levels of underwater photography progression. And the final of those levels was, after you've won the biggest contests and been in National Geographic, the final part was creating an iconic image. And I think that's an image that isn't just celebrated, it resonates in the community, in popular consciousness. And this is a collection of those style of images. I'll open the book up and see what we get up on the page, which I'm finding a page with, but that comes up. You can see here there's an underwater one we've got up. It's quite hard for me to hold this. That's Laurent Balesta's category overall winner from a couple of years ago. We'll swing on out into the book, but there's a whole range of just stunning photos. I'm never going to find what I want at any one point, but you can see it's just amazing images. To give you a flavor of the caliber of this, the Wildlife Photographer of the Year each year awards 100 photos. Certainly has in recent times. And it's been running for 60 years. So that's 6,000 images, roughly. This book is the best 200 of those. And those are the best, each of those 100 are the best of the 50,000 entered each year. So it's very much creme de la creme. The one thing I would say, though, is that the selection isn't done like a competition. It's done based on, the real world. The editors know who took the pictures in the book. They also know how the public has reacted to them. And I think it's very much selected based on pictures that have that public recognition. So it's slightly different from the competition. The competition runs, and some years everyone's like, oh, the overall winner's amazing. And other years people are like, oh, the overall winner's a bit bleh. And the ones where everyone goes, it's a bit they don't make the book. This is not all the overall winners. There are plenty of overall winners that are not in this book. I've got pictures in this book that weren't category winners, and yet only 2 or 3 pictures from that whole year of competition got in the book, and they chose pictures of mine that weren't category winners, which I think is quite interesting. It shows that it's about the resonance of the shot, how the public and how everyone remembered it, more so than how it did at the time. And just, everybody who's anybody is in the book, as you can imagine, who's entered the competition. But just to read some of the names: Steve Winter, Brent Sturton, Marcel van Oosten, Galen Roll, Charlie Hamilton, James David Duboulet, Jim Brandenburg, all, major National Geographic shooters, Sandra Bartoccia, Karine Eigner, Britta Jasinski, Tim Leman, Franz Lanting, Thomas Mangelson, Benson Mate, Paul Nicklin, Thomas Peshak, Brian Skerry, Anup Shah, Jasper Dost, Lauren Balesta, Art Wolf. It's just, it's everyone who's made their name in the competition or entered the competition is in the book, and many more. And I would say if you have any fascination with the Wildlife Photographer of the Year, you should definitely buy these books. If you have any intention of entering the Wildlife Photographer of the Year, buy this book and look at it. Not only is it the most beautiful coffee table book of nature you could ever imagine, because it really does have just ridiculously amazing image, page after page after page, and incredibly iconic images that you will know already, but it's a fantastic guide to look at when you're choosing your pictures. Now, I have to say, when you look at this book, it makes you perhaps a little disappointed with an annual collection, because it's clearly a level above. So if your pictures don't quite measure up to this, doesn't mean you don't have a chance of winning. But it is, I think, a very good place to get inspiration about what to enter. So if you are interested in entering the wildlife photographer, I'd definitely dig it up. I don't know if you've got anything you want to jump in on, Matt. I've just been
not yet. We have some of these pictures pulled up here, and I keep looking over at them.
I've made a quick slideshow of a few of the underwater ones. I'll just read a bit more about the book. It says, these are the most memorable and beautiful pictures from 6 decades of the world's most prestigious wildlife photography competition. This landmark volume captures the diversity of life on Earth and celebrates technical innovations and creative ingenuity which have made nature photography an art form. And then there's a quote from Sir David Attenborough. I won't do the voice. Great pictures of nature have one thing in common. They are unforgettable. They can also be profound source of beauty, wonder, and joy. This is a collection of work from the competition that over the past half century has become an international showcase for the very best wildlife photography. Images that have the power to affect how we feel about the natural world and therefore how we treat it. It's a collection that will make you think. But yeah, it's really is a stunning book, and not given the size and weight of it, it's not actually particularly expensive, because I guess it's not like a coffee table book that's produced in very small numbers. Yeah. It's, they print a lot of them because they sell them really well. And it's just absolutely phenomenal book, and well worth, I would say, whenever you are choosing to enter the competition, half an hour spent going through that book before you start selecting images, I think it might make you a bit depressed, because it makes anyone depressed. And I'm in the book and I get depressed looking at it. But at the same time, I think it reminds you of what you're looking for in your own images. So it's very valuable to go through.
It's a great selling point for the book, though, that buy this book, it'll make you super depressed.
Yeah, that's right. So there's the cover. But I've picked out, I think, only a handful of underwater pictures, which we can talk about. So first up is Laurent Balesta's deep water shrimp picture. Do you remember that one, Matt? Have you got
Yes. I remember the first time I saw this one, and everything about it is just, Laurent's one of the goats of underwater photography, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
He has so many pictures that are, and he also photographs really unique things, and he photographs really unique things really well. And you can kind of picture yourself in this scene with all those shrimp kind of popping backwards from you, probably, and the soft corals in the background and shrimp antenna everywhere. And despite the fact that it's busy, you still have a focal point with that main shrimp right in the front, looking right at the camera, which I think is really impactful. Yeah. So this was, I don't remember which year this was.
Quite recently, I think probably 3 years ago.
Yeah, but I remember it being one of my favorites, one of the standouts from, and all of his images stand out, but one of the standouts from that year, for me at least.
Yeah, I find it a very immersive shot. And I don't think this was a category winner. I think this was just highly commended. But in retrospect, and I think the other thing about the retrospective view is there are also, the odd picture that maybe is ethically a bit dodgy. There's a well-known underwater picture of a mimic octopus in mid-water in the Wildlife Photographer, which was a category winner at the time, but it never appears in these sorts of collections because ethically people go, well, maybe that wasn't created in quite the right way. Yeah. And so it also gives the judges a chance to look back at things that way as well. Okay, next up, we'll speed through these. We're already in 10 minutes. Is perhaps one of the most famous underwater pictures from the Wildlife Photography of the Year, and that's Doug Perrine's picture of the bronze whalers attacking the bait ball. This isn't the nicest version of it. I can find a better version of it online. So it's not looking quite. It looks much nicer in the book than it does on our screen right now. But yeah, this remains, I think, the best sardine run picture taken. It's natural behavior of sharks. It's absolute peak of the action. It's an incredible image.
This is an old picture. I can remember looking at this, I think, before I even started diving, and I still remember this picture from back then. But like you said, it's still one of the best, if not the best, sardine run pictures that's been shot. And the extra cool thing about it is you're getting to watch sharks predate naturally, which is so rare to have happen.
Coming right at the camera.
Yeah, and he timed it perfectly with with the two of them coming straight through the bait ball. They both have mouths full of fish. They look like me eating a pizza. It's just a really cool, really cool image. And I like that the sharks, I assume it's the sharks did this, created that hole through the bait ball, and the bait ball split around them, leaving that hole right in the middle, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and we see a lot of bait ball pictures nowadays in underwater photography. But there's, yeah, I still feel, I mean, the image quality of this one as it's on screen, because like I said, I couldn't find a version of it to put on the screen here. I still think this is, it hasn't been surpassed as a bait ball shot.
So one of the other things too is a lot of these pictures. I mean, I think this picture is like what, 20 something years old. A lot of the pictures like that, they're cool. They're cool when they're, in the context of the time that they're taken. But like you said, to create an iconic image is a lot different. And 20 years on, this is still one of the most iconic bait ball images out there, despite the age of it.
Yeah.
And the fact that perhaps the image quality isn't as good as you could get today, but it doesn't, if you have a good enough picture, that doesn't really matter as much.
Yeah, I would say that the book does select a bit based on iconic at the time.
Yeah, for sure.
It isn't looking at, right now in 2024, let's see what we think. I think it's the stuff that, in the year that the contest existed, what was particularly remarkable. Okay, moving on. We're now with Tony Wu's Super Pod. And I know Tony would want to mention the poo coming out of them. But for the rest of us, this super pod of sperm whales, which is, I think for me, I love this image, partly because it's an incredible frame.
Yeah.
But it's also an image that when I was growing up and whale numbers were incredibly depressed, I never thought I'd see a picture like this. This is how sperm whales lived before whaling. That they had these super pods and they were very social and things like this. And it's almost a photo that takes you back in time. And therefore is a conservation image that's full of hope for once rather than full of depression.
Yeah, this one I think won the category too. But I mean, you have so much going on. You have a super pod of my favorite whale. So there's that. You have the one in the main one is shedding, which is really interesting. You have the big poo cloud in the background. And those three main ones kind of all in sync together, moving past the camera. It's just being there was probably incredible. Getting the picture is just a nice bonus.
And it is a reminder, when we spoke about this year's wildlife photography of the year, we talked about the valuing by the jury of what you shot.
Yeah.
And obviously there wasn't anything shot quite like this. But it is part of wildlife photography, is about going out there and bringing back those firsts.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just about who can do the fanciest twiddling of the knobs of their camera.
Yeah.
Right. Let's roll on to the next one, which is perhaps an even more iconic whale shot. And this is friend of the show, Brian Skerry's photo of Maisha Handler. And this incredible encounter with a whale. I think that almost anyone probably could have predicted that this one would be in our show, because it is just, when it comes to iconic underwater images, this is kind of got to be it, really, I think.
I was going to say, I think this might be the iconic underwater image. If you ask anybody to name, what are the 10 best for 10 best without thinking about it underwater pictures of all time, almost everybody is going to put this picture in there. And this is another really old image that it doesn't matter. He did it. This picture came out before anyone was really diving with the right whales. And,
I think they did this one in Japan. I think
it was New Zealand.
Okay.
And the contrast of that enormous animal and this tiny little diver just standing on the bottom looking up at it. It's so perfect. I love being able to see the bottom and the surface. I think that's really cool as well. And for the rest of my life, this will always be one of my favorite pictures. And again, it's one of those ones I remember seeing when I was 9 or 10 and being like, holy shit, you can do that. So I think
absolutely amazing. Right. Let's roll along. This next up is Lauren Ballesta's overall winning picture of the spawning groupers. with the amazing question mark of sperm at the top.
um, so I asked you when we pulled this one up the first one if you've ever seen The Nightmare Before Christmas, because the iconic cover of Nightmare Before Christmas has a very similar spiral in it, and this picture always reminds me of that. But I think the coolest part about this, it's a cool event, and I like the main. I guess they're sea bass or grouper. I like the main one kind of peeking out and looking at Laurent.
Yeah, so important for the image. Yeah.
The lighting he got on this is remarkable, and I don't entirely know how he did it because you're not allowed to remove backscatter in these competitions either.
I think it was when they were filming and they've got a diver holding a big light. So that's why they've got this kind of almost backlit look, and it creates a very natural effect. It's like almost in sunlight because you've got a light source.
So you think it's static light or strobe?
No, I think it's a continuous light, a bright continuous light with maybe a bit, but I think he's probably got some strobe fill as well, but like on low power.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean,
I've always wondered, which is probably part of the appeal to me, is that I'm not entirely sure how he did it. But this image is made by the curly Q sperm and that fish peeking out and looking right at him. It's just such a perfect moment.
And just, behavior that never been captured before, but it's not just capturing the behavior, it's capturing it in a really technically interesting, visually, appealing way.
Yeah.
So very much. And moving on to our next one, which is a macro picture by Michael Patrick ONeal. But this one, one where the photographers, it's a Blackwater shot. I think Blackwater shots had a period of doing very well in the competition, and it's nice to pull out perhaps the best of them here.
Yeah.
And what I like about this one is it's a Blackwater photo, but it's also got some interesting photographic technique, which enhances for me the beauty of the shot. It's not just technique for technique's sake. It's created an incredibly beautiful end result. I love the feeling of movement in the wings, but also, it looks like one of those light paintings where people have those strips of LEDs and whisk them around in the air. And just beautiful.
He was also this is also the first picture I can recall that started the trend of people doing like the Blackwater slow shutter speed stuff. Mm-hmm. And I still don't know if anybody has gotten a better version of this since then. And it's a shame he doesn't seem to shoot much anymore, at least underwater. But this picture, like you said, it's so beautifully done. The wings are perfectly upright, but you still get them. And I know nobody can see my hands when they're out here, but the wings are so perfectly upright, and that little trail of the ghost fish behind it just works so nicely. And I remember the first time seeing this, and I was like, how the hell did he do that? Because this was way before I had any idea about this type of technique, and I just a cool fish too. I have this little cool and mustache or whatever that is.
Yeah, and species again that which I think is it is important in the wildlife photography what you shoot. Okay, next up it's Paul Nicklin and a photo of his of emperor penguins. I think my favorite of his emperor. I mean, I have lots of favorite of Paul Nicklin's photos, but my favorite of his of the emperor penguins is he's got this an amazing shot of all these beautiful reflections of them. But this one is an immersive image. It just puts you in the middle of the action. And I'm pretty sure this was an overall winner in the year it was awarded. And it just puts you right in the middle of all this rush of penguins, middle of the flock, as they race towards the ice age, I presume, to jump back out the water. And just a fantastic image.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about, I think. And I love that one too. Was there and he's shooting them from the side?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just beauty all the way. This one, it puts you there. I mean, they're both. So many of his pictures are incredible, but this one, is also incredible.
Yeah, this one makes you feel like you're one of the penguins and you're about to jump out of the water with them.
Oh yeah.
And it's so chaotic, but it's sort of organized at the same time because they're all heading in the same direction. I think all the bubbles in the surface really adds to it.
And there's so much to see in this picture.
Yeah, you can just keep looking at it.
You just can't just look and find more and more cool detail and story. Yeah,
but
fantastic
again, like you said, important what it is that you're shooting too, because being a penguin helps because they're such cool and unique
Yeah.
Animals as well.
Yeah, and it's telling a story from, a place in the earth that few people have seen and had the
Yeah.
chance, so it's really, really fantastic. Okay. Now we're up to the north of the planet, up to the Arctic, and it's Alden Ricardson's split level photo of a humpback whale dancing below the surface in the Norwegian fjords. Really, I think a technological marvel to be able to shoot a split level. I know Alden uses like a super dome for doing these shots and all those things, and just an incredible photo to do a split level of a humpback, but to do it with fjordic Arctic scenery above the surface. Really incredible.
So I have to confess, I don't actually think I've ever seen this picture before.
Mm.
But yeah, like I've been to this place, so I know it's a difficult spot to shoot, and especially to be able to shoot a split level with the whale and the mountain. When I was there, I can envision how you could do it, but actually being prepared for it, having it all line up, and then capturing a picture with the whale is in such a good pose too, with its fins, the fin out and the tail fully facing the camera. That is probably incredibly difficult to actually achieve this.
Yeah. Especially not like moving the camera in the water at the last minute and creating, waves.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Really. Yeah.
Maybe the whale was up at the surface, just kind of rolling around, and he had a couple seconds to line it up. But either way, yeah, really, really pretty picture.
And I think that's our last one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my favorite slide, this one. So I am also in the book, but I obviously I didn't want you criticizing my pictures, so I didn't put them in. But yeah, because it's such an important book, obviously you want to be in it as a wildlife photographer. I always joke that it's not a competition, but like for me, there's no bigger competition than this.
Yeah.
Just to be in the running, you have to have been awarded in the wildlife photographer. And then it's, you not just got to impress the judges and get awarded. You've then got to impress the public and create an image that's remembered and falls into that iconic image sort of, type of talking. So, for me, one of the things you do is you look who's in the book, and then you want to see how many pictures they've got in the book. So on the screen now is a leaderboard of how many pictures you've got in the book. And so at the top, as you can all see, but Matt can't see because he hasn't got this slide. He doesn't know was in the thing. Is Laurent, who's got 5 pictures in the book. Then it's me with 4. Brian Skerry's got 4, but one of his is a topside picture, so he's only got 3 underwater pictures. And Paul Nicklin's also got 4 in, but he's only got 1 underwater picture, and he's got 3 topside pictures. So I put myself above those 2 in the rankings. Then after those with 4 in, the next up for the underwater photographers is David Dublé, who's got 2 in, and Tony Wu's got 2 in, and Doug Perrine, who has got 2 in. And Alden Ricardson's also got 2, but only one of his is an underwater shot. And then there's a number of other photographers who've only got 1 in.
What were your 4?
My 4 are my snapper picture portrait, which I think the whole competition thinks should have been the overall winner that year, and for some reason wasn't, and will always. But it's always shown, and they never show the overall winner. So I kind of retrospectively that's been done. My Hamlet's spawning, which I think is remembered as being one of the first fish behavior shots they ever awarded, and also to get beauty into the picture as well. I mean, driven a lot by the subject matter, but the effort I made to get those shy hamlets, which were the harder species to find because they were so pretty. And that's the only picture I've ever taken in all my life where when I took the photo, I knew I was going to be awarded in the wildlife photographer for it, because I just knew it was so beautiful and such a first. And I was just like, this is going to be awarded. And I'd never been awarded at that point, but I just had that feeling as soon as I shot it, and it was. And it's still remembered as so it's not just been awarded, it's in this echelon. My picture of the cormorant hunting the bait fish below the rigs in off Los Angeles, which I think is a really very, very different type of bait fish shot. Most bait fish and fish are fisheye exploding towards the lens, and that's a very different perspective that I think makes that shot stand out.
So
And that,
I remember when that got, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I remember when that shot got awarded and Todd and Michael both messaged me because I think they were on that trip with you.
yeah,
And they're like, how the hell did he even think to put this in the bird category? Because I think they would have just put it in underwater, and I think you put it in birds. And I wouldn't have thought to do that either. And I think, and Michael's like, oh, that bastard.
yeah.
He thought outside the box and put it in the proper category.
Yeah, but it didn't win the category. But the winner, and that year, everyone was like, oh, you were so unlucky not to win the category. And that was another year where that particular picture, a lot of the land photographers were like, if you'd won the category, you could have easily been overall winner again. So that one and the snapper are my two kind of near misses.
Yeah.
My other category winner, which was the year that Laurent won with the groupers, I never felt that was in the running for overall. I thought it was good to be a category winner, but it was never a contender for overall. And then the final one is that final category winner, which is the Trioplan one of the Ghost Pipefish.
Yeah.
So those are my four in there.
Nice.
But yeah, right. Let's get us back on the screen. But that's my little bit of showing off. But I would say that, let me get us back on screen and say that if you are interested in the wildlife photographer, there's really no excuse that this mighty book isn't in your house. It's an amazing book. The wildlife photographer do kind of a version of this. They did one at the 50th anniversary. They did one at 55, and they've done this one at 60. So there may well be more in the future, but I would definitely recommend getting hold of it. It's it's just page after page of ridiculously amazing images and some fishy pictures by me. But it is, I think, no better guide to understanding that competition than that book.
Cool. Well, I think that's probably the best place to wrap this one up. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed some of those pictures, and hopefully you'll pick up the book. I'll probably pick one up too. And we will see you in the next one.